yeah, this is a part 1, probably, in the title. Do you think I can summarize a 48-hour storyline in one video? If you said yes, you're right, because this is only Parrot. This is only Parrot. I'm only going to be saying Parrot's storyline, and I'm excluding the final video. So, in the first episode, WEMMBU, Parrot, how to save the Wonders. Wonders, massive structures, for some reason are important. Who knows why? Actually, nobody knows why. Yeah, you tend to find this video, not much backstory. It's the first video. Anyway, this video, really uninteresting. So, this will probably be the quickest video I go through. Turns out, WEMMBU's not with Parrot and actually working against him. I know, WEMMBU, betrayal, shocker. And it's Spoke, who is the person destroying the Wonders with an orbital cannon. Like, we haven't seen enough of that online in terms of Minecraft recently. You get to the point where there's only one Wonder left, and Parrot managed to figure out that Spoke can only strike every 6 hours, and he can make adjustments to make it strike a little bit faster. He makes his own cannon to destroy Spoke's cannon. However, they go off at the exact same time. I know, to luck and being scripted. Episode 2. This is where I started watching. The episode begins with Parrot getting a treasure hunt from our good friend Spoke, and as anyone normally does with their enemies, Parrot trusts him. But first he must invite Weefies to help him. Yes, you heard me right. Weefies. They were able to go through the challenges quite easily until they are forced to be naked for a maze. Don't take that out of context. Naked as in with no armor. This is when Prince Zam and WEMMBU decide to enter this hunt as well. For reference, Zam has an empire, and they are also hunting Spoke. They manage to escape by giving Spoke, and my brain dead. They managed to escape by giving Zam and WEMMBU materials for the hunt, like a turtle egg, which they just get back. They being Parrot and Weefies. I know, they just get it back. They give them the stuff, and then they get it back. And work on the scavenger more until the last challenge. Spoke here, is here now, like Spoke is here, as in he is there and not the title of his YouTube channel, tells them that only one of them can know the secret of the scavenger hunt. They play a few games until it ends with a tiebreaker, chess. But one thing Spoke doesn't know is that you can tie chess. But when they eventually do, Spoke is adamant about one of them being chunk banned, get used to that, and the other one getting to know the secret. So Weefies, being very honourable and being very yandere, gives Parrot his beloved spyglass and sacrifices himself. So, what's the secret? The secret is that there is no secret. It doesn't exist. Spoke is a liar. But out of nowhere, Zam Empire comes to kill Spoke. I don't know. Pure luck, I guess. And as a last-ditch effort, he jumps into the same chunk ban as Weefies. Episode 3 now. Zam Empire has made multiple vaults, prisons, whatever you want to call it, to hide chunk bans of Spoke and his goons who somehow also went into chunk bans. Yep, makes sense. Parrot and Wreck-Rap, because he recruits Wreck-Rap like he recruited Weefies, go straight for the Spoke/Weefies prison and fail. So they go to prisons, letting out Spoke's goons. You see, Parrot knows a few of them from episode 1, because they helped him set up the orbital cannon, namely Jumper and Rapture. There was also Fance, but he ends up getting chunk banned by himself again. Anyway, the chunk ban, I know, again, chunk ban. This is the entire thing of this arc. They chunk ban the Weefies/Spoke prison guards, so they have it all to themselves until the guards get on chunk banned, but it's scripted, so they don't. And obviously, who's the guy when you want to break out of a prison or break into a prison or get somebody out by breaking into a prison? They get Canadian. I mean, he's escaped just about every prison. Why not this one, you know? He's escaped, like, well, gotten people out of, like, Gaia's Vault and other ones. The answer is that he can get out of this one. After 4 hours of TNT with the balls, flying machines, and much more, they killed the pickling hold of the chunk bands, releasing not just Weefies but also Spoke, and I would also want to say probably a guard who walked in, as you won't see later because I didn't mention it in the script, but they got some really new people into this empire. Episode 4. The definition of filler. Quite literally, nothing changes here. Anyway, it is about Clown, paid by Prince Sam, attempting to kill Barrett.
It's a cool premise. Like, it's a weird premise, but it's a cool premise.
Foray and Muggum being teammates with Clown, but also
Hello, boys.
Yo,
Clown
Parrot,
is there for about one bit, which we see him like twice. Love.
What the
A clown
chorus,
assassin
bruh?
team. Or Cat for short. Cat is a name I made up of because I can make up names. Consisting of Jumper, Durapchu, who we've seen before, Leo Work, Wilson, and Woogie. The last two won't matter much. In a fight with Clown, Cat end up having to run. Durapchu never makes it back to the base. Remember this. There is an entire side plot line with WEMMBU Civ getting attacked by Flame Frags. Flame ends up being in Zam Empire, and since Parrot is there, a player, probably Clown, just happens to be with Flame and his army. And Parrot also gives up and tries to run away, but Weefies finds them and they yap. At the end, Cat base is blown up, the members seem to be gone. That's about it in terms of the important parts. Obviously, Clown doesn't win, but he doesn't die. Episode 5. Hey, we're already like halfway in, that's great. In the beginning, we already figure out Wreck Rap and Canadian disappeared as well. In a book left by Clown, it has coordinates. Clown's also disappeared, but I don't know, apparently he just can go into a place without... I don't know how that works, but we'll ignore that. Parrot and Weefies find a place with people called the Game Masters. This is actually just, if off the top of my head, I think it's Jaden Man and Spongs, but they call themselves the Game Masters. Once they complete a challenge, they get an item that one of the 6 missing people had. For example, Jumper's Netherite Booth, Drab's Heart of the Sea, or Weefies' Dragon's Head. But I guess Weefies isn't missing, so it's like one of the friends had, basically. Interestingly, most of the challenges don't get close to killing them. There's even water when they fall into lava. During almost every challenge, Kira and Dev try to help Parrot and Weefies. In reality, Kira and Dev work for Boostful and want the items to trade. So they get the help of WEMMBU because he needs money, aka netherite blocks, diamond blocks. During a challenge, they are in the end, Kira and Dev lock the fuck in and take all the items. However, this doesn't stop Clown. He appears and tells our duo to put the spyglass in an item frame to be able to find their friends. Episode 6. A few things to start off. This prison works by putting prisoners in a 128 by 128 prison. Yes, I counted. Every hour they meet a new person in a different cell. Any way of communicating with someone in another cell is stopped. One of the best things here is they can't log off for the system to work, meaning in canon they were they were just like online for more than 24 hours. It is revealed that Canadian designed the prison so they can't use him to escape. In fact, Ken wants to stay in Proton. Proton is the prison name, by the way. Oh yeah, and Weevy's got chunk banned again and had to be let out by the prison guards. He just doesn't stop. Neither do chunk bans in this SMP stop either. Eventually they figure out that people can visit the prison, and by this noise they can create a stasis chamber. One problem, different Sosan, and they can only get ender pearls through swindling the guards. There is a way they can create a stasis chamber, however. They need honey, which they get from a wandering trader. Well, they get saplings from a wandering trader and then use bees from the saplings, and boom, you have your honey. There isn't soul sand, and they can only get... And I'm high. At this point, they don't have enough emeralds, however, so they make a map. This way, they can write Morse code with blocks. In the process of this, they need Jumper to teleport with an ender pearl, which lands her in solitary, which is basically your average prison, being a obsidian box. However, in there you can only jump, run, eat. Otherwise, you die. It's not explained how you would die, considering, well, it's scripted. Anyway, they create the stasis, and WEMMBU puts an ender pearl in. He's a visitor. As Canadian almost betrays. They try to escape, but there's a 800 block long wall of, you guessed it, chunk bands. As they get to the end, they decide to elytra an ender pearl out. However, they don't have enough elytras, and Canadian gets left behind. But Ken, being Ken, has a stasis in his base and can also escape. Although messaging is banned in the prison, they can just look at the map that they had earlier, and he has created Morse code. Episode 7. This is the start of the Invis Mafia arc. This is covered like 10 times better by TryFRX with all 3 POVs. Anyways, Parrot and Weefies go 100,000 blocks out, but followed by a player named Dean the Bean. 9. They recruit him as a member of their civilization. Dean is part of the Invis Mafia, which Parrot and Weefies don't know about at this point. They recruit Horace, a really good builder, to build the civilization, while they get villagers all the way 100,000 blocks out in the end. They realize with the new Minecraft update, Dean, even in the end, can be stasis out. However, the Invis Mafia doesn't know about this yet. So they waste the stasis chamber that Dean has in Invis Mafia by creating their own stasis chamber. Yep, this arc has its own chunk bands. Boosfer, being the green man he is, decides he needs to run for king, or president, or whatever you want to say, of Safe Civilization, Void Civilization. It really, you can say anything you want. This is also when we see Weefies can canonically just go into creative mode, because he's Weefies. Anyways, as you would think, Boosfer loses the election. Afterwards, the Mafia just casually sends 3 AC bomber planes towards Void Civ. Luckily, they stop them, and create a dome around to stop any future bombings. They discover an underground sewage system where there has been a player hiding under. Conveniently, it's one of the Invis Mafia players, and they turn up to chunk bands. After the Mafia have taken over, Parrot and friends go back to bomb it and succeed. How did I write succeed that wrong in the script? I'm sorry, I wrote it SUCCSSED. How am I that depressing? Episode 8. The trio try to steal from the richest player, Redoons. Obviously, they get caught and are sentenced to mining civilization with a minimum of 10,000 diamond blocks to leave, which would take them 50,000 Minecraft days. There are a few other players in mining civilization, with notable ones being Luigi Tone and Coin Monkey. Coin Monkey is more of a god than a regular player, however, in fact he just is a god. Parrot meets with Luigi, and Luigi tries to teach him mining techniques. They find a deep slate emerald, and Parrot lets Luigi keep it. It comes to a point where they realize that mining 30,000 diamond blocks can each of them, because you have Dean, Weefies, and Parrot. Also, Luigi probably has good 600. So, what's the best way to attack? Is to do the thing they originally came here for. They steal from Redoon's vaults. Instead of getting themselves out, they decide to get others out, starting with Pika TM. They get 4 people out, and 2 Redoons get suspicious and goes to Coin for letting them cheat the system, which I say in quotation marks, but they do actually cheat the system. Redoons orders a casino to be made, and after 2 games of blackjack, he makes Luigi play. And he says that since red and black have already been chosen, Luigi must pick green. Of course, it doesn't land on green, that's not how blackjack works, so Coin must be so Coin must kill Luigi. But he refuses, so...
You were useless.
So off the back of Luigi's death, they are able to start a revolution. Everyone storms the capital city, breaking into every vote, but Red had a constitution plan, with one of the votes being fake. The trio is faced with a decision: join the Mafia or die. When all hope is lost, Coin stasis them out, because they made a stasis before, and somehow this time, even though they've already tried it before, they can just escape. Episode 9, the search for the Minecraft farmlands. Basically, it is what it says it is. While the Mafia hunts our trio, they go to a civilization said to be in the farmlands. But somehow, Mafia keeps finding them even 6 million blocks out. So why do I bring this up? Dean, our beloved Dean, was leaking to the Mafia about where they were, and all is fine after that, because they get rid of Dean. Well, Dean actually runs away, but all is fine until about 9 million blocks out. Well, Weefies, our good Weefies, burns the compass and claims, we're not going to the farmlands. Parrot still goes alone, however. He reaches the farmlands without a compass, and he walks in the farmlands until he finds one of the farmlanders and finds the civilization led by Horace. Episode 10. Before I start this, I heavily recommend going to watch the last 2 videos left from this point. If you are still watching, here we go. The video starts with the farming district getting destroyed by the Mafia. Then we see the inductment of Parrot into one of the factions. Warriors, farmers, and builders. Of course, he would never get inducted into the builders. He's not a builder. Parrot must kill a wither with 5 items to see which faction he gets inducted into. Parrot does this in such a way which he has 2 options: farmers or the warriors, and Horace can't pick a 4th faction because apparently the warriors and the farmers wouldn't like that. He chooses the warriors, but quickly learns that because when the farmer district was destroyed, the farmers can no longer provide anything for the warriors, meaning that's why the warriors hate them, and the reason the farmers hate them is because the warriors didn't help them when the farming district was getting destroyed. Parrot, in his opinion, goes through some meaningless tasks. There are 5 people that are like the council of the warriors, and then there is one leader. This one leader being purpled. By getting on the council, you need to kill, well, not kill, you need to go to a totem pop on one of the council members. So Parrot decides that he wants to get on the council of warriors by winning against Dumb is Dumb, who is on the council. But he's not very dumb. In fact, he is very good. So, with the help of Weefies, which he was already made up with before, he sets ice in the sky, and once the fight begins, he can use tridents like Riptide and Loyalty until his armor pops, and then he goes in with the sword, because obviously he has a massive advantage. However, Purpled, the leader, still mostly takes control. They continue to do pretty much mostly meaningless tasks until a builder is spotted by a Mafia player about 2,000 blocks out. So Parrot tricks that player into getting trapped with the farmers, with the help of the farmers, and Purple, after that, gives Parrot a mission to drop off some items. It ended up being a trap, but with the help of Theo, he survives. And after that, the council had enough of Purple and voted Parrot as their new leader. In this process, there is a no... As the new leader, the first thing Parrot does is first get rid of the hierarchy, and then he decides to stop the Mafia bombing spawn. In this process, there is a no-trim Mafia member killing their own team members. Before Parrot leaves, he decides to kill this no-trim, and I'll just show you the video. Parrot killed Dean himself. One of the earliest allies, a trusted companion since the founding days of Safe Civilization, fell in the blink of an eye, without warning, without a fight, gone, reduced to memory in a single instant. The silence left in the absence spoke louder than any explosion, because this wasn't just another casualty. It was the unraveling of a bond forged through fire, murdered by a blade swung far too fast. Well, that was my first time trying to make something dramatic. Was it good? Anyways, the warriors are being held hostage. So, how do you get them out? Creating a sister chamber, of course. Well, really, it's only a small part of the plan. But with the help of the farmers, Parrot does get the warriors out. However, Parrot doesn't stasis out. Instead, he orders the diamond players to take him to their leader, in which he already knows is Ash. And that's really it. Well, I would love to go through episode 11. It just wouldn't be fair to Parrot or anybody else involved with Unstable. And of course, this video wouldn't be possible without Parrot, Spoke, or WEMMBU, as well as Forsey, Arkan, Ashwag, Avatar.png, Bablu, Blockflax, Boostful, Branzy, Calmpierce, Coin Monkey, Crystal, Dimify, Dion 4K, Dizzy, Drapshoot, Dolphin, Dumb as Dumb, EXP Chan, Falconu, Fanced, Finian, for MC, Flame Fries, Horace, Minecraft, Jaden Man, Canadian, Kieran Dev, Lamaby, Leo Work, Letters K, Luigi Tone, Madamuru, Mainburn, Meta 64, Murphin, Mogum, Nape Azrael, Nova Greddy, Pika TM, PSTRV, Pookie, Prince Am, Pro 4D, Quactius, Rion, Rekrabdu, Rejoice, Ratrick, Rochambeau, Shero, Smiley, Sorid, Spokesir, Spong, Spectacled, Psycho, Tai, Tajon, The Sorter One, Theobald the Bird, Twerps, Watto, WEMMBU, Wallabies, Weefies, Wilson, Will, Watmax, Young Will, and Yori builds. Of course, this isn't the best, summarization of Unstable, but there also isn't any other one out there. Well, it's not even a summarization of Unstable, it's just Parrots Season 1 and not even the last video. But yeah, they're I will one day make a better version with all 3 POVs, but that's not today, because that would be very hard.